Back in my top fuel days, after a run, we'd pull the car back into the pits, and me and two other guys would rip the thing down, pull the head, pull the blower off the heads, drop the pan, knock 8 pistons and rods into it, rings and bearings, slam it all back together again, and have it ready to run in under an hour. Now they shortened that to 45 minutes, and it takes 8 guys to do the same task, but that's besides the point. But when you're doing one of these engines, it doesn't take hours, it doesn't take days, sometimes it takes weeks. You have to be patient because it all goes in steps, You don't want to just rush through things. So we're at the point now where it's going to start to become interesting. This is where we take this inanimate object over here and all these various pieces and turn it into a heat generating, reciprocating mass of power production. So first things first, before you even start on something like this, obviously you want to clean the block, you want to clean the crank, and these guys did a great job cleaning everything. Your rule of thumb when you're working on the internals of an engine is, would you lick this part? That's your standard of cleanliness when you're putting the engine together. Would you lick this main cap? Would you lick that main cap?
Sure.
Go ahead, lick it. See, that's clean. That's a clean cap. Okay.
Tastes like WD-40.
All right. So, everything clean, you need to have everything organized. Before you start assembling the engine, you want to put together an assembly area. You want to take your table, clean it off, put down paper towels. You want to clean your hands, you want to be wearing clean clothes. You want to try to make this as sanitary and as uniform as possible, right? So, here we've got everything laid out on the table. Here's our pistons and rods. We're ready to put the rings on those. Here's our rings. Here's our main caps, bearings, your tools, important tools for this. You need your piston ring compressor. You're going to need a torque wrench. You're going to need your assembly lube. You're going to need a feeler gauge. And do we need anything else? No, I think we got it. All right, so you guys want to throw these, well here, actually, let me show on this. But throw those bearings on the caps. So we've already laid the main bearings into the block. And you can see right here, there's a difference between the upper shell that goes into the block and the lower that goes into the cap. The upper shell is always going to have an oil hole, and some of them are grooved like this. Whereas the one that goes into the cap, some of them are grooved, but most of them are like this. And that's it. You just drop them in. The thrust bearing always goes into there's always going to be one saddle in the block that's cut for the thrust bearing. That goes in there. And every bearing has a locating tab. So you can see that right there. Okay? So the tab goes into that little notch that's in the block. This is universal. This is on every engine. All right. And here, they're throwing the bearings on the caps. Also, we've dropped the rear main seal in. The upper half of the rear main seal. Now when you go to put the seal in, okay, you see the way it's shaped. Let me pop this back out of here. All right, you see it's got a sharp edge here. It's got a taper that's facing inside the crank. So the sharp edge faces to the inside of the engine. And you drop that in there just like that. A lot of guys are like, oh, set them up like this on an angle so that they don't leak, right? Yeah, it's an extra step. It's not really necessary. If you put these together right, if it's fitted right to the engine, it's not going to leak. You could put a little tiny dab of silicone here and here when you put it together. Little tiny dab of silicone. And throw your cap in there and you'll be fine. So anyway, guys, you got the caps in? All right, let's get that crankshaft. So the crank's been cleaned. All right, wait, before we put the crank in, we have to lubricate this stuff. So grab the lube. Okay. So squeeze a good amount of that out on your finger. Okay. And give that whole cap. Be generous with it, There you go, just like that, exactly like that. Okay, do the rest of these. On the thrust bearing, we'll also get these surfaces, side surfaces. You see it? Grab that last one. And also put some on the oil seal. There you go. Okay. Now let's take the crank and gently lay the crank down into the block.
Got it?
Lift up on your end a little bit. There you go. Boom, and she's home. All right, so just work it back and forth just a little bit. Okay, so now let's start putting the caps on. Now the caps are numbered. You also want to lube the caps. As you put each cap on, give it a lube.
They're numbered. Each one's got a stamp on it.
Okay. Which one is that?
Number 1.
Okay. Here, Jamie, grab the next one. All right. Now when you put these caps in, you see there's the locating tab right there. Don't get anything on this surface, right? Keep the surface as dry and clean as possible. And you see the locating tab? The locating tab on the cap faces the locating tab on the block. You could send it out with the bolts. Throw the bolts in there. You didn't lube that one.
Yeah, that's. I picked it up too soon.
You got a 3/4 ratchet.
Need some on here as well, right?
Yeah, just a little scotch. All right, now we're not gonna tighten any of this now. We're just gonna snug it. We're not gonna torque anything. Make it a habit to torque everything at the same time. So just run all your main bolts down. Just get them cute. Make sure you pull the cap evenly into the block. You know, so what I'm saying is don't lock it down on one side and then go to the other. Okay. And as a matter of practice, what you want to do is you want to, before you tighten anything down, you want to make sure that the thrust bearing is seated, and it's not a big deal. All you do is just give the crank a tap. You can put a piece of wood over the front of it, but you're not going to whack it hard enough to do any damage. But you just hit it all the way from the back, from the counterweight, hit it all the way to the front. and then we give this thing a spin, and she feels great. So now we move on to the next step, which is getting the pistons and rods in. Flip this thing over.
That way.
Okay.
A little more. Back a little. There it is.
Okay, so at this point we're going to start putting the rings on the pistons and stick them in the motor. But before we do that, you want to check the ring gaps. First, obviously, to make sure you get the right set of rings and then everything is going to be within spec. So, standard bore block, these are standard bore rings. And let's stick it in here and square it up. Okay. And let's see. That looks like about 20. What do we got here? That's a loose 20. Come on. 22. Okay, 22. It's about a 21 thousandths of an inch gap. Now, that's fine. We're right where we want to be with that. Now, if your future plans for the motor include anything like nitrous oxide or supercharger or turbocharger, remember we're putting this thing together stock and the intention of this is just going to be for a daily driver. So if you're going to be putting this engine together with the intention of someday adding a power adder to it, right now is when you want to start, you want to open up the ring gaps. So that 22 is fine, right, for driving. But if you're going to pressurize this thing, if you're going to make any serious power with it, that ring, that top ring is going to get so hot that that gap closes up and it'll actually buckle the ring, and that's what breaks the piston. Usually, you know, like people are like, oh, you can't use cast pistons. It's not usually the cast piston that causes the damage. It's the ring with too small of a gap buckling and then breaking the ring land on the cast piston that causes the damage. So keep that in mind. If you're putting it together stock, see what the book says as far as, you know, what your ring gap should be. But if you're going to be, you know, adding a power adder to it, open those ring gaps up. A good rule of thumb is about 29 to 30 thousandths of an inch for, you know, let's say spraying 150 shot, running 10, 15 pounds of booster in a motor. So anyway, that's it with that. So let me put this back in the box. And it came out of that. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. I'll do one, right? And you follow along and copy me. So let me show them the ring box. So here's your box of rings, yeah. And the box of rings has, these things are marked. Okay. So here's your top groove. Here's your second groove. And here's your oil rings. Okay? So put this where we can all grab it. Grab a piston. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put here. Can you catch what these guys are doing here? Okay. So first thing we do is we grab an expander. Okay. And we're going to put the expander around the oil groove. You know, put it back in the, always try to get into the habit. If you take a ring out, put it back in the section that it came from so you don't get confused or anything. Okay. All right, so we've got our expanders on. Then we're going to take, there are 2 oil rings to each expander. So take 1 oil ring. See how skinny those are? Careful, because sometimes they stick together. You'll get 2 of them in there. All right, now watch how I do this. Put it in the bottom of the, like that, okay? So I'm going to spaz that now because I'm showing people how to do this, right? And work it around in a circle, just like that. Don't force it, don't bend it. By the way, when you guys were little, you played with slinkies. You ever played with slinkies? Yeah. That's what these are.
I can see that.
The slinky is when the ring companies, they make these things, they're in giant, sleeves, and they cut them, and you get rings out of them. But if you uncut them, you leave them uncut, you have a slinky. Yeah. All right, so yours is on there?
Yep.
Moves free? Yours on there? Perfect, okay. Now take your second oil ring. Huh? And now find the gap to your first oil ring. So here's my gap on my first oil ring.
Mm-hmm.
I'll flip the piston around to the other side, and I'm going to start the gap 180 degrees out from that. And I'm going to work the ring around in a circle, stick it in there. And you want to make sure once you've got that, that the whole ring is just very free floating, that there's no resistance or anything like that. Okay, you good? Good. Hey, make it out, Jamie.
Got it.
Look at you go. All right. Perfect. Okay. Now, second groove. See what it says, second groove?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So grab a ring from the second groove pile. Now, if you look at the ring, you're going to see there's a dot on one side. See that little dot right there?
Yeah.
Okay. That dot faces up.
Okay.
Okay? So now watch. Take the ring, put it in the groove like this. Well, see again, so I'm going to spaz out because I'm showing people how to do this. Put it in like that, and I'll work it around just like that. Don't force it, and she'll just slip right in. It takes a little manual dexterity to get that right. There you go.
One more down. Here we go.
Okay. You got yours? Excellent. All right. Now we go for the top groove. Okay. Same thing. Look for a dot. Okay. So now there's no dot on the top groove. Oh, there it is. Yep, we have a dot.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, the dot goes up top.
Do we 180 from the gap again?
Well, right now, go ahead, just slip it
Okay.
on there. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, the rings, okay, are free to move around in their bore. And as the engine is running through its natural, cycling, the rings are always rotating, they're always moving around. They don't go at any set speed, there's no set pattern for them to follow. People are very adamant about setting up the gaps so that the three gaps are 180 or three separate steps, right? But what I generally do, because they're going to move around anywhere, the two oil rings are not going to float separately. The expander keeps them together, so that ring is going to move in unison. These two top rings move completely independently. So what I do, okay, is I just set them all up so that one gap is facing one side of the pin, and the other gap is facing the other side of the pin. Now, if you were to start this engine up and you run it for 10 seconds and take it apart, you're going to find it there every place. So you don't have to get anal about how they line up.
Gotcha.
Okay? So that's that. And then your last step, what we're going to do now is we're going to put the bearing in the little end. So, now you'll notice these rods have a little hole right there. Okay? That's an oil pisser hole, and what that does is that squirts oil here up at the camshaft. Okay? So you'll see that. Okay, thank you. So you see that the bearing has a hole. What? Oh, here. Wait. Watch this now. When you go to put the upper shell in the rod, what I do, okay, is put this like this and give it a little, just give it a little spread. Don't go crazy. Just a little spread, because what you want is, you want it to fit very snugly into the cap. And the reason for this is that when you go to drive this piston down into the motor and you're hitting on the top of it, if the shell isn't set into the rod good, it's going to fall out. So I like to spread them just a hair to give it that little bit of tension to make sure that they grab and it's not going to fall out as you're putting it together. You're not going to distort the bearing where it's going to change its shape or anything like that. It's just adding a little tension to it. All right, so you're good there? Okay. And do this. On the rod cap, you don't have to bother with that.
Okay.
Now I think all of the rod bearings in this kit have a hole. So even though the cap doesn't have a hole, the bearing is going to get one anyway. So, and there's your locating tab. Now in the future, when you put this together, remember that when you go to assemble this is how it goes. The locating tab and the locating tab always go on the same side of the rod. So that's how this thing is going to get assembled, just like that. All right. So now we're ready to knock one into the motor.
Okay.
Ready? Are you rolling?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's time to drop a piston in. But before we do that, we have to give a shout out to Officer Tedder, who showed extreme coolness during our Gatorade run. Thank you. Okay, so we have our PV blaster and we have our piston ring compressor. And we have our 1/4-inch ratchet that fits into the piston ring compressor. Okay, so first thing we got to do is pick a rod. We're going to lube the cap, like so. Spread that out nice. Now, we're going to drop piston in here, like this. Okay, now notice we're not dropping it into the hole yet. We're letting it rest above. And we're going to give this a nice squirt of PV blaster. Okay. So, we snug the piston ring compressor around it. Make sure we got a good bite there. Okay. And now we'll locate piston in the hole, like so. Okay. Now, we've rotated the crankshaft so that the journal is clear at the bottom, right? You want the crank journal as far away from the reciprocating assembly as possible. A lot of people will be like, oh, you got to put rubber tubing or some kind of sleeve over the rod bolts, and that is a good idea, right? I generally don't do it. I reach my hand in there and I guide the rod bolts around the journal. And on this particular engine, there's such a great distance between the deck and the crank journal when it's at the bottom of the throw that really there's tons of room. But if it's not a bad idea to take some rubber tubing and put them over the rod bolts here so that you don't scratch the crank as you're putting it in. So at any rate, we've got that located there. So we're going to take a hammer. Yes. Also, there is a notch in the piston. See the notch right there? The notch faces forward. Now, there is a thing about reversing piston pin off, the piston pin offset by putting that notch to the back. But we're not going to do that this time around. We're just going to throw this engine together stock. All right. So, you want to square the ring compressor to the deck. Okay? Make sure it's even all the way around. Make sure the piston is facing with that dot straight forward, so then you know that the rod bolts are in the right orientation. So I'm going to take one hand, I'm going to reach up here, and I'm going to grab the rod. Okay? And then we're going to go sharp, quick blows. And we're in. So, don't interrupt the method. We have the method,
Right.
okay? And then we're just going to push this down. And she's seated. Then we're going to take our rod cap, throw some lube in there, like so. Now remember, the locating tang faces the locating tang on the rod. So I'm going to go down there and grab the nuts and right there. And we're going to throw our nuts on. And again, we're not going to torque anything yet. We're going to go through the whole bottom of the motor, and then we're going to torque the rods and the mains. And you do that so that you don't forget to torque anything. So don't torque anything, so you'll end up torquing everything. Okay, and that's it. That is one piston and rod assembly ready to go. You want to do the next one?
Sure.
Okay. So, first things first is you got to rotate the crank so that journal is facing the bottom. Curb feeler.
There we go.
Okay, facing the bottom. All right, so grab your piston and rod. And when you get ready to do the next one, what you want to do is release the tension on this a little bit, pull that open, and let it unwrap itself. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna tighten this down a little. Just get it kind of snug. Here. You got your notch facing forward. There you go. Okay. You should have given it a good
yeah.
squirt of this. That's okay, it's not too late. It's not a perfect seal yet, so. Okay. And your notch is facing forward. Make sure that notch is dead forward. Okay. Now listen, put one hand underneath. Okay. So you feel the rod bolts?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're going to guide them so they're not going to hit the journal.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. A little more. There you go. Okay. Give it a good shove.
Just trying not to.
Bingo. Okay. So lube your cap. When the tangs are facing the tangs.
Where is it at?
They're to this side.
Okay. So, tank.
Yeah.
I need my glasses.
Anytime something hits the floor, wipe it off. You want to start with a clean floor when you're doing this stuff, just for that reason. There you go, just get them snug. That's it. You can put a wrench on it and give it just a little bit of a turn, but we're good. And now he's going to rotate the motor and drop number 3 in. And I mean, that's about it. We could keep doing this. It's just a repetitive cycle for the rest of it. You guys get the idea how this is done. So we'll finish knocking the pistons into this thing tonight, and then I guess tomorrow we're going to go through the cylinder head. He just dropped the head off over at the machine shop. We got a 1972 head that's already got hardened seats. It just needs a quick hand valve job, so we're going to take care of that. And then we'll start assembling the top end of the motor. We'll get the cam in it tomorrow, the oil pump, drop the oil pan on it, and
Saturday.
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 Saturday, yes,
You
not
guys
tomorrow,
have
Saturday,
tomorrow.
right.
Yes.
So that's it. See you guys tomorrow.